You've been told all your life that you are in control. That discipline, morality, religion, or even love itself can tame your sexual desire. But Carl Jung warned us, the one thing you'll never truly control is desire. It does not bow to your will. It does not listen to reason. It rises from somewhere far older than your conscious mind, and when it surfaces, you are no longer the master. You are the servant. Think back to the moments you tried to resist it, the late-night thoughts you didn't want but couldn't silence, the way your heart raced in the presence of someone you should have ignored, the way your body betrayed your intentions, turning a fleeting glance into an obsession. If you've ever felt weak for this, you are not alone. Jung explained that desire is not weakness. It is power. But not your power. It is the power of something inside you that is older than civilization itself. Desire is not polite. It does not arrive with reason or patience. It arrives as a storm. Jung believed that this storm lives in the unconscious, the part of you that does not care about your plans, your values, or even your peace of mind. It only wants. And when it wants, it drags your entire being with it. That's why people who think they are in love often discover they are trapped in something far more primitive. It's not love guiding them. It's desire disguising itself as love. And here is where it gets darker. Jung warned that the more you deny desire, the stronger it becomes. The more you repress it, the more violently it finds a way out. Desire unacknowledged does not vanish. It twists, it mutates, it hides inside dreams, fantasies, and obsessions. You can lie to yourself. You can call it love. You can call it temptation. But deep down, you know, you were never in control. Imagine two people meeting for the first time. They speak politely. They exchange words. They think they are guided by personality. But beneath their words, something older is happening. Their eyes hold a little too long. Their bodies shift closer without permission. Their voices change tone. And within seconds, their unconscious has already decided something their conscious mind will take months or years to rationalize. What they call attraction is not a choice. It is desire moving them like pieces on a chessboard. Jung saw this as dangerous, not because desire itself is evil, but because we are blind to it. When you think you are choosing love, you may simply be obeying desire. When you think you are strong, you may simply be enslaved. And the tragedy is that society tells you the opposite. You are told to control, to dominate, to master your impulses. But Jung's insight was far more brutal. The unconscious will always be stronger than your conscious will. You can suppress it. You can cover it with rules and masks, but you will never erase it. This is why people cheat on the partners they swore they loved. This is why people risk careers, families, reputations for a single night of passion. It's not rational. It was never rational. Because rationality is not driving them. Desire is. And when desire rises, morality becomes a whisper, drowned in the storm. But here is the cruelest part. Desire doesn't just control who you're drawn to. It controls how you see yourself. That sudden burst of confidence, that reckless passion, that obsession that feels like purpose, those are not coming from your strength. They're coming from desire. It inflates your ego. It tricks you into thinking you've found love, when in reality, you've only found a mirror reflecting your deepest hunger. Jung believed that we mistake this hunger for destiny. You meet someone and you feel pulled, as if fate has chosen them for you. But in truth, it isn't fate. It is biology, shadow, unconscious longing. Fate is only the story you tell yourself to explain why you're chasing something you can't stop chasing. And that story, no matter how romantic, is a lie. That's why you'll never control your sexual desire, because it's not a surface impulse. It's a shadow force. It doesn't live in your thoughts. It lives in your body, your instincts, your hidden wounds. And if you've ever wondered why desire feels so impossible to resist, it's because it was never designed to be resisted. Desire's purpose is not your peace. It's continuation. It's survival. It's the ancient script written into your very blood. Think about it. Civilizations have fallen because of desire. Wars have been fought, empires destroyed, kings humiliated, leaders ruined, all for the pull of what they thought they could control. If the most powerful men in history couldn't master it, why do you think you can? This is the reality Jung wanted us to face. Your sexual desire is not a tool you wield. It is a fire that wields you. So the next time you think you are choosing, ask yourself, who is really choosing? Is it you? Or is it something inside you, ancient and hidden, pulling the strings while you pretend to hold them? You might still believe you can outsmart desire, that if you learn enough psychology, or build enough discipline, or surround yourself with rules and rituals, you can put it in a cage. But Carl Jung knew the truth. Cages only make desire stronger. The unconscious cannot be tamed by force. Every time you push it down, it pushes back harder. Every time you pretend it doesn't exist, it finds a darker way to express itself. Think about the man who tells himself he is loyal, moral, untouchable by lust. Outwardly, he speaks of virtue. He hides behind religion or philosophy. But at night, when the world goes quiet, his mind fills with images he cannot stop. He scrolls, he searches, he fantasizes in secret. In the daylight, he denies it. At night, he is consumed by it. This is what Jung called the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It is simply the part of you you refuse to see. And sexual desire is one of the first things people bury in that shadow, pretending they are pure while their unconscious drags them into contradiction. Or take the woman who swears she is in love. She speaks of connection, of destiny, of the one man who completes her. But deep down, she feels something darker, an obsession she cannot explain. When he leaves her messages unanswered, her body aches. When she sees him with someone else, she burns with jealousy. She tells herself this is love, but Jung would say, no, this is desire disguised as love. This is not about the other person at all. This is about the hunger inside her that refuses to be satisfied. Jung explained that desire is not simply about sex. It is about power, identity, and longing. It's the unconscious demanding to be heard, but doing so in a way that overwhelms you. That's why people fall into affairs, addictions, and obsessions they swore they would never touch. They don't wake up one day and decide to destroy their own lives. They wake up and discover they were never in control to begin with. History is full of these examples. Think of leaders, kings, even spiritual figures who built empires, only to throw them away for forbidden passion. Jung would say, this is not weakness. It is proof of the unconscious ruling over the conscious. Because when desire decides, reason becomes nothing more than decoration. And here is the cruel paradox. The more conscious you become, the worse it feels. Deep thinkers, self-aware souls, those who analyze themselves endlessly, they don't escape desire. They suffer more from it. Why? Because awareness magnifies the split. They see themselves being controlled, but cannot stop it. They understand the trap while still falling into it. And that awareness becomes torment. You watch yourself burn and know you lit the match. Have you ever tried to cut desire out of your life? To say, I will be celibate. I will be pure. I will reject lust entirely. Jung said this path often leads to obsession, not freedom. The unconscious doesn't like being silenced. When you suppress it, it finds another door. Dreams, slips of the tongue, sudden compulsions. You think you have beaten it, but then one night you find yourself staring at someone longer than you should, or fantasizing in ways you swore you wouldn't. And in that moment, you realize your willpower is not the master. It is the illusion. This is why Jung believed that repression is the most dangerous mistake. The repressed desire doesn't vanish. It mutates. It can become violence, resentment, or shame. It can turn into obsession with pornography, constant cheating, or even spiritual hypocrisy. The unconscious will express itself whether you allow it or not. And the tighter you lock the door, the harder it breaks it open. Let me give you a real-life example. Imagine a married man who represses his desire for years. He hides behind routine, behind duty. He convinces himself he is safe. But then one day, he meets someone who awakens something in him he thought was dead. He resists at first, but each resistance makes the pull stronger. Eventually, he collapses into an affair, destroying everything he built. He says he doesn't know what came over him. But Jung would say it was always there. He just pretended it wasn't. Or picture a young woman, raised in strict traditions, told her sexuality is shameful. She grows up repressing every desire, every attraction. But inside, the unconscious brews with intensity. Eventually, it erupts in rebellion. Secret relationships, dangerous choices, addiction to validation. She doesn't understand why she swings between purity and chaos. Jung would say, this is the shadow taking its revenge. This is the truth no one wants to hear. Desire is not something you master. It is something you learn to face. And if you do not face it, it will rule you. That's why Jung insisted on shadow work. Not to kill desire, but to recognize it. To stop lying about it. To stop calling it love when it is hunger. To stop pretending you are in control when you never were. Here's the irony. When you finally admit you're not in control, you gain a kind of power. Not over desire itself, but over the lies you tell yourself about it. You stop confusing lust for love. You stop dressing obsession as destiny. You stop blaming yourself for what is simply human. Jung believed this honesty is the only real strength, not denial, not repression, but awareness. And maybe that's why sexual desire feels so terrifying, because it reveals the truth about you. You are not the master of your house. You are not as rational as you believe. You are driven by forces you don't want to admit. And those forces don't ask for permission. They rise, they burn, they demand. And unless you recognize them, they will keep owning you. So the question is not whether you can control your sexual desire. Jung already answered that. You cannot. The real question is, will you admit its power? Or will you keep pretending until it destroys you? You may think that sexual desire is only about attraction, but Jung warned us. It is far more deceptive. Desire doesn't just live in your body. It lives in your shadow. And the shadow is not simply hidden. It is projected. That means the people you think you're in love with are often nothing more than mirrors, carrying pieces of yourself you cannot face. Have you ever wondered why you are irresistibly drawn to certain types of people? Why someone you barely know can feel like home, while others never spark your interest no matter how good they are for you? Jung explained that this pull is not random. It is your unconscious searching for itself. It sees in another person the traits, the wounds, the fantasies you deny in yourself. And suddenly, that person becomes magnetic. You call it love. But what you are really experiencing is projection. Think of a man who represses his own wildness. He grows up disciplined, orderly, respectable, but then he meets a woman who is fiery, unpredictable, unrestrained. She awakens something in him he has long buried. He calls it passion. He thinks she completes him. But what Jung would say is this: he has fallen in love with his shadow. The part of him he denied has returned in another person, demanding to be faced. And because he cannot face it in himself, he chases it in her. Or consider a woman who has always denied her own darkness, her envy, her aggression, her hunger for power. She projects that energy onto a man who seems dominant, controlling, dangerous. She calls him exciting. She mistakes fear for attraction. What she doesn't realize is that he reflects the parts of her she doesn't want to admit. And instead of integrating those qualities into herself, she gives them away to him. She becomes bound to him, not by love, but by projection. This is why Jung said, we never really fall in love with other people. We fall in love with the parts of ourselves we've lost. Desire is not about them. It is about us. It's the unconscious using another person as a stage to play out our hidden drama. And this is why sexual desire feels uncontrollable, because it isn't about reason or choice. It's about the shadow. And the shadow does not care about your plans. Now, here is where the tragedy deepens. Because projection blinds you. You don't see the other person as they are. You see them as a screen for your unconscious. That's why relationships born from pure desire often collapse under reality. The mask slips. The projection fades. And suddenly, you realize the person you thought was perfect was never who they seemed to be. They were only the canvas your unconscious painted on. And when the paint fades, so does the illusion. Jung warned that this is why so many relationships are filled with disappointment. We expect another person to hold our shadow for us. We expect them to carry the parts of us we cannot bear. And when they fail, we call it betrayal, heartbreak, or falling out of love. But the truth is this: they never betrayed us. We betrayed ourselves by refusing to face our own unconscious. Take a real example. A man swears he has found his soulmate. She excites him, consumes him, feels like destiny. But years later, he realizes he projected his need for chaos, adventure, and freedom onto her. When the fire burns out, he sees her not as a soulmate, but as a stranger. He wonders how he could have been so blind. Jung would answer, projection. Or imagine a woman who marries a man she swears she cannot live without. She calls him her rock, her protector. But really, she projected her own unclaimed strength onto him. Over time, she grows resentful. She feels trapped, dependent, weak. She blames him. But the truth is, she gave away her own power, expecting him to carry it. And when he fails, she feels abandoned. This is the dangerous illusion of desire. It does not only disguise itself as love, it disguises itself as wholeness. It convinces you that you need another person to complete you, when in reality, what you need is to reclaim your own shadow. But because this work is painful, most people never do it. They chase relationship after relationship, desire after desire, projection after projection, never realizing the pattern is not about others. It is about themselves. Jung called this the anima and the animus. the inner feminine in men and the inner masculine in women. He believed we project these inner figures onto people we desire, mistaking them for soulmates. In truth, they are symbols of our own psyche, demanding recognition. And until we integrate them, we will remain slaves to desire. Because desire is not about attraction. It is about the unconscious pulling us toward our missing half. But here's the most unsettling part. The unconscious doesn't care if the person is right for you. It doesn't care if they're toxic, unavailable, or destructive. It only cares that they carry your projection. That's why people fall madly in love with those who hurt them, why they return again and again to the same destructive patterns. The unconscious chooses, and the conscious mind rationalizes after. You call it love. You call it passion. But Jung would call it fate, written by your shadow. This is why you'll never control your sexual desire. Because it's not about sex at all. It's about the unfinished work of your soul. Every time you feel that uncontrollable pull, you are being dragged toward the part of yourself you refuse to see. And until you face it, you will keep mistaking desire for love, projection for destiny, obsession for meaning. Jung's warning was clear. Desire will own you until you reclaim the pieces of yourself you've projected onto others. And most people never will. They will spend their lives blaming partners, chasing fantasies, and calling it romance. All the while, desire will keep pulling the strings, whispering in the dark, laughing at the illusion of control. So Jung's warning is clear. You will never control your sexual desire, not because you are weak, but because it is older, stronger, and deeper than your conscious will. You can repress it, disguise it, or call it love. But in the end, desire will own you until you face the shadow it hides within. Now tell me, do you think desire can ever be mastered, or is Jung right that it will always remain beyond your control? Comment your thoughts below. And if this video struck something deep in you, make sure to like, subscribe, and consider sending a super thanks to support Psychatic.